Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Welcome to the Spec Racers 4 Weekend Warriors series presented by RaceVoice. We're here at the Nürburgring for Round 8 in 2022 Season 2, and we're looking for another excellent race between these boys in the Spec Racer Ford. My name's Adam Hadfield. I'm back after a week off getting some real world sun. Yes, they do let us out of the holes that we commentate from occasionally. With me, I've got Mark Trant on cameras and Sam Fitzpatrick alongside me on the mic. Sam, welcome in. How are you looking forward to tonight?
Yeah, should be a good one. We've been to a lot of slipstream circuits this season. We've had Monza, and of course last week we had Spa, and then we've been to the other extremes of Knockhill and Tsukuba and Summit Points, where they're a lot more tight and twisty. This circuit is a nice medium. We got enough straights for the toe to be prominent, but there's also a lot of skill to go through the corners. So this will be sort of one of the first proper smaller GP circuits that we've visited so far this season.
Yeah, another Grand Prix circuit. I'm a little bit disappointed to say that past participation does appear to be down tonight. Can't think of why that might be relating to Grand Prix that are or aren't going off concurrently at the moment. But we've got at least 32 drivers out there, so I don't imagine we'll be lacking for action in any way. Before we go any further, I should just mention our series sponsor, RaceVoice. And RaceVoice is proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the Weekend Warrior Specs Racer Ford Racing Series. Take your driving to the next level with on-track audible performance alerts with RaceVoice and RaceVoiceSIM. Hear miles per hour, turn entry and exit speeds, upshift alerts and other performance metrics which are selected and configured by you. Go faster with the speed of voice. Plus, at the moment, Weekend Warriors get 50% off annual sim pricing using the promo code WW... Oh, sorry, I've just gone and lost the message there. Oh,
I think it's racevoice.com. If I'm improvising here very impressively, but I believe it's racevoice.com if people want to check out more details.
Sorry, Sam. It's WW50 is the promo code. I just got all my screens overlapping, so sorry for that at home. So we're coming to towards the end of qualifying now. Only 50 seconds remaining to run. At the moment, Andreas Bertoni, a name we don't often see at the front, is leading the way. We'll see if that is the case in about a minute's time when qualifying's all done and dusted. Everyone's set. It should hopefully be their absolute fastest lap. In the meantime, you can already see up on your screens championship standings. And currently qualifying second, but top of the champion standings, we've got Aeronom on 572 points. Friends Arabian, his closest rival at the moment, down on 500, and Jason Green on 429. And then the ever-competitive Austin winner and Wang Shilin make up 4th, 5th, followed by Matthias Weiger, Miro Haraski, Jörg Marni, Andreas Petoni and Sean Campbell, the top 10 drivers in our Pro Spec 1 category. Just wait a moment for the next set to roll up onto our screens. There they are, Spec 2, headed by Thomas Renders, really running away with it at this point on 422 points, nearly a whole 100 points ahead of Flavio Andalo in second. Hugh Simpkins takes 3rd place on 331, keeping Andalo very honest there. Andrea Favini occupies 4th place ahead of Alan McCain, Ian Gibson, Jonathan Bukenga, Paul Jackson, and the points have disappeared on me. Oh, there they are, they're back again. Michelle Vaglini on 220 points in 9th, and Edgar Sancinelli makes up your top 10 in the Spec 2 category. Those drivers highlighted in green, and highlighted in yellow are Masters drivers over the age of 55, headed by the ever-impressive Chris Murakami on 380 points, with Antonio Reyes and Adam Bradshaw. His closest contenders Bob Kern, Marcus Burkett, Gian Longin, Gene, Stevie Ray, series founder and organiser in 8th, Kurt Nunez and Jeff Cantor are top 10 Masters drivers, who I'm hoping to see most of the top 10 of each of those categories out there on the track tonight. I would like to think that their priorities are with us tonight, Sam.
Yes, and yeah, it should be good to see the championship battles continue out there around this circuit. And I'm just trying to think in my mind the last time we saw Eranon win a race. I don't know if you can think off the top of your head. He was so dominant at the start of the season, yet he just seems to keep on missing out ever so slightly since then. I feel like it was before Not Kill that he last won a race. I think it was around maybe 3 of the championship. So it's been quite a drought for Ariel. Starting up in P2, he's probably going to give himself a good chance come this race.
I could go scrolling back through, but I imagine by the time I actually found an answer for you, Sam, we might all be getting a little bit bored at home. But yeah, he's not won certainly for the last couple of rounds. Other drivers have managed to either snatch it away for him, or he has been absent for 1 or 2. Obviously, he'll be looking to right that wrong tonight. As I mentioned earlier already, qualified in second. For the moment, qualifying has now finished. We're into the warm-up stage. Just a 5-minute warm-up for those drivers who want a little bit of extra time, just to lay down their brake markers, get it all wrapped up in their heads, exactly what they're meant to be doing. Oh, as we watch Mino go round, that's not what he'll want to be doing in the race. But it's a track where you do use the curbs in certain sections. You really ride them out of the Dunlop at the section there, and then climbing the hill, the Michael Schumacher S, and the next left-right-hander, making use of those curbs and riding the full width of them is an important tactic around here, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah, it sure is, and the drivers are going to be picking up a fair few 1Xs as well. And the 1X rules are quite strict in this series, so the drivers are limited to just 12. Well, limited to 11. Once they get 12, then that will be a drive-through penalty, and particularly around the Schumacher S, you are going to be pushing it through that left-hander. Can't help but feel we're going to see lots of drivers pick up penalties, and around this part of the circuit there's pretty much no deterrent out there off the circuit, so you're naturally going to try to extend the circuit in order to gain any extra time. And so the objects, which really haven't been a problem so far this season, which is a strange thing, this is a fairly long race and a very small limit. I think it might be a bit more of a factor this time out, especially if we see a few drivers get some 4Xs in the early stages.
Yep, 4Xs for contact between drivers, always a risk in the early stages when you're all fighting on top of each other. Obviously the rolling start we have in this series does negate that ever so slightly. You don't necessarily turn up at the first corner completely on top of each other. One thing to note as well, we're using the endurance layout chicane at the end of this lap, which I've got to say is my preferred choice. It's a lot quicker through there, more of a flick than a heavy brake and bundle it over the curves, which I think will suit these cars a lot better.
Yeah, I think it will be a little bit better for these cars. And the other one is sort of good. I quite like how it's quite tight. It's a bit more of a braking area, but it's so narrow. And particularly if you are going to try to go too wide there, you've really risking a lot of contact if you do that. Admittedly, this one's very narrow as well, but it's a lot more high speed. It's almost agreed beforehand to go single file, unlike the other. So I think that should reduce the incidents we have. And of course, these guys, we see it week in, week out, they have so much respect for one another. We see that on the opening laps, where there's very rarely any incidents, and that's a curse if I've ever heard one. But I imagine they're going to be able to sort themselves out fairly well around that part of the track, and yeah, certainly to drive, this layout is a lot better. But once again, the 1Xs, that is one of the most tricky 1X corners I think on all of iRacing. So yeah, really going to be interesting. Unfortunately, we can't update you on what the off tracks are. We don't have a proper feed to exactly what they are. We can sort of guess it with our software, so it's not exact numbers. So just keep an eye out in those last 10 minutes, see if anyone makes any unusual pit stop.
Yeah, as the warm-up stage comes to an end now, drivers start to grid up on the back straight behind the Porsche safety car. That gives us a quick chance to look through starting order. Andreas Bertoni, as we mentioned, takes pole for SGP Racing with a hot time of 2 minutes 11.354, a full almost 3/10 ahead of Aero Nom there, lining up also on the front row. Mauricio Naselli in third, and Jorg Marni takes up fourth. Huang Xilin, the number 30, in fifth place ahead of Tom Renders, our first Spec 2 driver. Excellent job from him to be on the third row. Friends Arabian will start from 11th with Michael Dobek, last week's winner, in 8th. Chris Murakami, first of the Masters drivers, as ever it seems, in 9th ahead of Bobby West, rounding out your top 10. Andrea Favini in 11th ahead of Jason Green in the number 160. Banjo Dantas qualifies 1.3 seconds off the lead in 13th with Jim Brewster in 14th. Al McCain makes up the start of the 8th row in 15th, alongside him Miro Hraski in the number 64. Jesus Rodriguez in 17th and Aaron Bogle in 18th. Marcus Burkitt and Matthias Weiger making up the 10th row. Johan Betenga in 21st ahead of Andrew Love. Adam Bradshaw lines up 23rd ahead of Jeff Jacobson for SRT Esports. Bob Kern 25th from Ian Gibson 26th. Charlie Piccaro in 27th and Paul Jackson 28th. Tom Laurie number 260 in 29th ahead of Mark Sherman. Desmond Floyd in 31st and Daniel Engel, the last of the drivers to set a time. Flavio Endalo, as ever, coming from the back, wants to make up some positions. It's obviously what he enjoys doing, ahead of Jonathan Gaston. Richard Coffey in 35th. Antonio Reyes off the back of 36th. Coop Nunez, and your 38 car grid is rounded out by John Claude Bukabas. Just enough time to get through them. Glad we didn't have a full 50 grid. I would have run out of time there. As the drivers exit the final corner, and make their way up to the line. They're watching the gantry for the lights to go green. Drivers have already set off though. There goes Bertoni, he's away, and the green flag flies. Great start from Bertoni. Nom a little bit on the back foot there. I think Naselli's going to get him down into turn 1, and Jorg Marni's to the outside as well, looking interested. We go down to the first heavy braking point. It's a real pinch on the inside here. Let's see if they all make it through. Mostly they do appear to have done. Yep, everyone through there nicely. And Bertoni immediately with a 6/10 gap in front, really got away well there. Nom losing out immediately. As we have a few dives into turn 3 as we come through the Mercedes Stadium section and exit out of 4 onto the first straight. Again, drivers all side by side all the way down the field, but from the looks of it, Sam, very clean start.
Yeah, really good work from most of the drivers out there. Very good stuff. Antelope 8 places already, and you can see them go single file around this kind of descending parts of the circuit. But Naselli with that big move straight away. It was a real nice start for Bertoni. He left it really late for that launch, but he totally caught out Nom. I think everyone on that odd side of the grid, the inside of the grid, had a very good launch right there. And we're seeing an overtake there for a couple of the drivers further down the order. I think that was a Love looking down the inside of Botanga. Decides to back out of it and now drops off a little bit himself. Going through the Schumacher, super tricky corner in the Spec Racer Ford machines. It will not be flat out by any means. I think one of the drivers has got a slowdown. I think that's Bobby West, who's going to slow right down. And also just behind him, apologies, it was Arabian, I think, with the slowdown. I think it was West also with a bit of a slowdown for himself. So that's the first one we're seeing around that corner.
Yeah, we saw Bobby West. That was the driver we were concentrating on there, wasn't it? We lost about 6 or 7 places there, but then also Arabian losing out. Meanwhile, at the front, we come to the end of the first lap, and Aero Nom has not spent a whole lap in third. He's immediately back up into second, past the 44 of Naselli. as they flick left and right through that fast chicane, ride the curb and brake hard into the final corner. Not many drivers really pushing the limits through that chicane on the opening lap, it seemed to me. Maybe considering, as you mentioned, Sam, the 1x risks around here, they might be decided to leave it on the table for the moment. Take it nice and easy on these opening laps. Meanwhile, these drivers definitely not taking it easy. We've got Aaron Vogel alongside Rodriguez. Vogel going to go past. Always Bobby West drafts up behind the driver in front of him as well. That's the number 64 of Haraski. Deep on the brakes. You can run really wide on the exit of there if you don't quite make your apex. It's something that a couple of those drivers have taken the option of, but Bobby West immediately on the recovery after his slowdown penalty, up into 14th. A bit of a gap ahead of him to Brewster, second of our Masters drivers. Meanwhile, Renders and Murakami have continued in their positions, the lead of their respective categories.
Yeah, Renders miles ahead of McCain so far, one of his best doings of the season, and he's had a fair few himself already. Not sure if it was Haraski or Rodriguez who went way too wide that time when you were saying how you can run wide, but they really pushed it right to the limit and beyond. Now Rodriguez trying to get underneath Haraski. This isn't a particularly long straight or flat out section, whatever you're going to call it, but in these cars it is plenty of time to get a draft, and the camber, or the banking you could even call it, around the Dunlop curve really does enable a lot of overtaking. And of course we go into this Schumacher race where we saw a few slowdowns earlier on. It is such an advantage to push it hard through this first part of the chicane, because the second part is very easy flats. And pushing it a bit there was Haraski. You don't want to go too much further than that, but the 64 gets away with it this time.
Yeah, interestingly, Rodriguez didn't use the curb on the right-hand side as he entered the Schumacher S. It'll be interesting to see how many drivers use that extra little bit of real estate that they can use to widen the entry to the corner. It should mean carrying a little bit more speed, but on this occasion I think Haraski just missed his apex slightly. So all's even between those two through that section. We're coming up to our first time on board through the chicane. Let's just see how fast Jesus can take this. Oh, he misses his first apex though, and he was always struggling to miss the second apex, wasn't he? That lost him at least 2 or 3 tenths. I imagine he's got Bradshaw right under his rear bumper right now. And we come to the end of lap 2. Tony still out in the lead with a half-second gap to Nom. Those two slightly pulling away maybe. Naselli in third with another half a second back, followed by Naselli, Marnie and Wang Shilin. Now top 5. You can see them on camera there. Maybe first two slightly broken away, but everyone pretty much still in the draft train as of the moment.
Yeah, and Arabian looks very racy right now after that dreadful start earlier on in the race. Apologies, he's kind of dropping back into the clutches of Murakami, isn't he? It's probably not what you'd expect from Arabian, as we have Love versus Burkitt around this part of the track. Love up 2 places, Burkitt down 2 places, and Love seemingly pulling away there. Jacobson, Weiger and Mino, 3 of the Spec 1 drivers lining up behind as well, so going to be at threats of losing a few more places is Burkitt around this part of the track. Mino actually up 10 places himself. The highest gainer we have out on circuit so far. The highest loser so far is Favini. I'm not sure if Favini even took the start out there. He's down in 37th place. He starts it up in 11th. So really disappointing day for him. As Bertoni, I think you're saying it before, really very close to Nom and Naselli and Marnie and Lin are all coming with them right now. And of course, so far this season, it's never been an advantage to be in the lead. You always want to not be in the lead so you can save a bit of fuel. But I wonder if Nom wants to take the lead right now and try to work as a duo to pull away from the rest. And it seems like Bertoni is very happy to sign on to that. So Nom takes the lead for the first time in the race. He's looking very quick tonight.
Tony absolutely dropped out of the throttle there, didn't he? Gave Aero Nom plenty of time to complete that move before they were even braking for the chicane. As Andrew Love moves up into 19th. Katanga behind him. Oh, as drivers get a little bit squirrely. That was Weiger, I think, looking left and right. Maybe as a pro driver, taking that chicane a little bit faster than the drivers immediately in front of him. To find an escape route momentarily. And go on board with Jeff Jacobson. He's got Weiger behind him. Looks like he's going defensive, moves to the middle of the track. Does he move further right? No, he sort of holds that middle. Oh, maybe even a dive on Burkitt. Oh, deep, deep, deep. Burkitt's going for the move as well. My goodness. And they're 3 wide on the exit. Viger coming right around the outside.
I mean, we were concentrating on what was going on ahead, and then all of a sudden he's got a car on his inside and a car on his outside. That was remarkable stuff right there. Absolutely no avoiding the action here at the Nürburgring. It looks like Viger, is he going to come out on top? No, Gaston with the better line to the right and takes that 22nd place. But Jacobson looked like he was in the box seat right there. Could gain a couple of places, ended up losing a couple of places. And we've got Chicane, who was P2 in the Spec 2 standings. He is off the circuit. That's a bit of an odd place to lose. I wonder if he's dipped a wheel onto the grass and corner entry, which has caused him to oversteer around.
Let's have a look on the replay. He's right over to the right hand side. There is AstroTurf there, so and he slides it out wide. I'm not sure if the AstroTurf is really something that you can necessarily lose the car on. It's normally the AstroTurf kind of plays a grippier role than that, but obviously maybe got in a little bit too hot or something, and round she went. He is still running down. I'm looking for him in the standings. Can you see where he's dropped to, Sam?
Down to 24th
there,
position now,
yeah.
So I think he's lost about 10 places due to that. Was a little bit by himself, but he's going to have plenty of work to do now. He is not going to be by himself for much longer. Brewster doing really well at the moment, up in 13th place overall, one of the Masters drivers. And this battle has been going on for a while. He's got Vaguely behind, Vaguely up 4 places from a start, and now there's a underneath move mid-corner, maybe even been a little bit of a tap on corner entry, but Vaguely seems very happy to go underneath, indicating that he has no guilt, which indicates that he made contact in the first place. But this is going to give the slipstream to the couple of drivers behind him. We could even see 3 wide heading into the hairpin if the gain is enough. A little bit late on the brakes, he's trying to avoid making any contact there. That was good avoidance from Haraski, and after all of that, still they're moving alongside. Haraski does get underneath Vaguely. Brewster holds on for now, but he does look like the slowest out of these 4.
Yeah, I'm amazed. Oh, there's a little bit of contact through 3 there. I'm amazed Haraski actually got stopped there. He was moving left and right, wiggling under braking. Did manage to get it stopped, thankfully. The 2 in front of him will have breathed a sigh of relief. And we're looking off the back of Brewster now. He immediately looks to have made a little bit of a gap on Vogel in the 247. Through the left, the fast right. This corner always drops away from you. You take a later and later apex as you go through there. And then down to the Dunlop hairpin, which isn't really a hairpin almost, with the amount of banking there. You can carry a lot of speed through it. Oh, as deep and wide goes Vogel, unless he's trying to pick up a late apex. Not really. I think that was too wide from him. Cost him a little bit of time off the back of Brewster. Brewster running 13th. He's got a 3-second gap to Bobby West ahead of him, who I think has actually been pulling away from him the last couple of laps. Bobby West obviously recovering from his slowdown at the start of the race. We've already got 10 minutes in the books. Drivers, I'm wondering about maybe pit stopping yet. Probably not for another 3 or 4 minutes. I did wonder if Alan McCain might have considered a pit stop when he spun out, just get it out of the way. But he probably doesn't have the fuel tank capacity to make it back from here yet, does he?
Oh, that's 3 wide just ahead. Always are they going to make contact? They do make contact. 3 or 4 times they were ricocheting between the 3 of them, squeezing on either end. They would have been told by the spotter, and that is a miracle. All 3 of them continued, but behind them they don't all continue. That may have even been 4 wide. Bradshaw was the big loser out, and also off the circuit was that Britunga and maybe Burkitt. Bradshaw goes into the pit, so seemingly the pit window is now open. He wants to get that faster pair. Look at the gain that they were getting. Was it 4? Oh, it was just 3 wide to be fair. And then it was actually, it wasn't late braking too late. It was sort of under braking. They moved into one another. You can see, I think that was a 664 Britunga. He had to take evasive action there. He was a bit of a guilty part to just evading the slow moving car in front of him. But yeah, from a miracle save to quite an inevitable crash.
Yeah, I think Bradshaw there was trying to do the sensible thing of not making a move into the chicane. I think the driver ahead of him was a little bit slow. Bradshaw decided he didn't want to try and make the move there, and the two drivers behind him said, nuts to that, we're going for this one. And obviously it all came to a head. Meanwhile, at the head of the field, Aeronom still out in the lead. He's got Bertoni right with him, as ever, through these opening laps. Now Jorg Marni is up to third, with Naselli heading what appears to be sort of a second group now. We've got three drivers somewhat separated from Naselli. There's more than a second between them, meaning that the draft will be getting ever weaker for those drivers looking to take advantage of it. Guangxi Lin and Dobek join Naselli in that second group, and there's Renders and Arabian, the recovering Arabian in 8th, still within sight of the leader. Oh, and we just see Murakami at the top of the screen as well there in 9th, our Masters leader. As we go back to Jesus Rodriguez, he's still fighting with Brewster and Haraski. Now these guys were 3 wide through here just a lap ago. Let's hope that they've learned their lesson. It really doesn't work through a flat out kink, going 3 wide. 2 wide you might make it, but 3 wide runs all the risks. It looks like they're going to be in line this time round though, thankfully for our heart rates. Oh, but as I say that, Rodriguez goes round the outside, and I think Brewster's going to let him go. Is he here? He might be letting Haraski go as well, though, if he's not careful. Oh, just turns in across the nose as they flick left and right once more at the end of lap 7.
Guaranteed we'll have at least one crash on that final lap. These guys are being, well, to be fair, that was a bit aggressive there from Haraski, trying to go underneath trying to go underneath another driver, as now he's having to defend from Vaguely. He is just got the overspeed right now. He lates it on the brakes, they're fairly even. But yeah, someone will try to go 2 wide in that final chicane on the last lap. It happens every single time you do a broadcast here. You spend the first 39 minutes sort of just backing out of it, but when it comes to the last lap, you may as well push it, and 2 wide racing does not work on there, so it should be fireworks right at the end of the race. McCain, on his comeback, he's back up to 20th place. He's actually gained 4 places since that off. And to be fair, he doesn't have too much traffic, so I don't think he'll need to come into the pits too early. He's got a bit of space to sort of drive into now, and then maybe in a few laps' time come in maybe on about the 20-minute mark when he catches up to Biger. But Biger himself, a Spec 1 driver, will probably be moving up himself.
Yeah, a fastest lap for McCain of a 2:30 flat. He's faster than at least the next 6 or 7 cars ahead of him, up until you get to sort of Rodriguez and West. So he's clearly got top 10 pace. As Alan, unfortunately, he's only just inside the top 20 at the moment after his issues early on, spinning out, as we saw, at the top of the hill after the Schumacher S. As we go back to the lead 3, and I mentioned it before, we do appear to have a breakaway 3, don't we? These guys just stretching their lead sector by sector by a minuscule amount, but it's enough to leave Naselli and Lim behind, it seems. As Marni showed his nose just ever so slightly as we came up to the chicane. These guys all working together, it seems, for the moment, trying to drop the following 3. Renders, meanwhile, appears to have dropped off the back of that group as well. It's very much a 3-3-2 at the moment, and no, we're not talking football.
Yeah, that would be a very unusual formation if you decided to go for that one. It was just having a spare player somewhere, maybe 2 goalkeepers. I don't think football works like that, to be honest. Sherman is trying to pass Floyd. This is nearly a minute off the lead at the moment. These guys a fair bit off the pace, about 5 seconds off the pace. You'll often see it where drivers just get faster and faster as the race goes on. I think Arabian is one of those drivers in 7th place right now. Who I think at Not Kill just seem to get faster and faster as the race goes on. I do wonder if a few of these drivers just know this car so well, they don't do a whole lot of practice, and then they get in and they sort of figure out the best way to go around the circuit after about 20 minutes. And seemingly, Sherman is finding the best way to go around the circuit at the moment. Very tight on the exit though, will not get a good exit. I think we'll have to dip into the draft in order to make this move stick.
Yeah, you thought I was talking about soccer there, didn't you? 3-3-2. I might have been talking about some other football where a formation of 9 players is acceptable. How are you to know, Sam? There are many
I don't know how many
there.
American football has, to be honest. If you say that American football has 9 players, then I'll absolutely believe you.
Aussie rules, Irish football, they're all out there,
Yeah.
aren't they? And I imagine some of those countries are represented on the grid tonight. Obviously, a heavy American presence. It's being organised by Stevie Ray for Spec Racer Ford. As we go back to the front now, and Marnie's come up to second now. What Bertoni's been doing on this lap, I'm not entirely sure, but he's lost out his record of only running 1 or 2 in the opening 8 laps. And even more worryingly for them, it's closed the next 3 up to them, so now we've got somewhat of a lead 6, it would appear. As we head round the final hairpin once again, Naselli right under Marnie. Obviously eager to regain his spot there. We'll see if he pulls out straight into the first corner.
For a very competitive league, this is a very competitive round. This is terrific stuff. Everyone in that top 6 are there legitimately. I don't think anyone's sort of being dragged along there. Nom is out in the lead, who we know is probably the most competitive driver in the series, and he hasn't been able to pull away from them. And Lynn and Dobek and Naselli in particular have had to close that gap gradually, not just with the draft, but solid times themselves. So this is terrific stuff. I wasn't expecting this round, this track, especially seeing at Spa. I think we only had a lead pack of 5. I thought around here we might have a breakaway driver or breakaway couple of drivers. Instead, everyone is staying extremely close. Really good stuff, really high level of driving so far tonight. Brewster has got a very poor fastest lap. He's got a 14.0, and no one else in the top 18 has got such a slow fastest lap. So he's done very well to hold on to that position for as long as he has. And in fact, he's trying to get past Vaguely right now, although I think this is overall an overtake for Vaguely, trying to pull away from Brewster, who's on the counter right now. Gaston and Love are the couple of drivers directly behind.
Yeah, I think to be completely fair to Jim, he's not had a clean lap yet, has he? Every time we go to him, he's in a battle, and this is no different. He's got Vogel in front of him, Love behind him. He's obviously having to go offline heavily, either to defend or make the moves against the drivers around him. Maybe once these guys leave him alone, as I'm sure he's encouraging them to do. Just leave me alone for a minute, boys. I want to set a hot lap to impress Sam.
Well, that's what goes through all the drivers' minds, isn't it? Every single time they're thinking, "Oh, can I get a good word from Sam?" But he's not going to get any good words. Well, Vaguely, so he isn't going to get any good words. That was miles off the track. That's going to be another 1x. And I've seen quite a few drivers clip the curb through that final chicane, and if you do that, that's an automatic 1x. It's super over critical as we are going to see a move potentially. Can Brewster get underneath Vaguely? He's getting his car ahead. Is Vaguely going to back out of this one? No, he's trying to stay alongside. Just wide enough for these cars. Gaston gets a little bit held up. Now Love sees his opportunity, but that was all a little bit blocked. But overall, seems as though Gaston has got past Brewster in all of that. He was the one initially trying to make the move.
My goodness, I winced as Love went deep on the brakes there. I thought he was going to clear them all out for a second. Obviously knows better than I do his braking points. These 4 all continue on their merry way, with Vogel now leading, and Love, to chase him down. Gaston to chase him. Brewster and Love making up 16th and 17th place. Meanwhile, Marnie, he dispatched Bertoni a few laps ago. Now he's got Nom on the rack, it seems, looking left and right as we work our way back down the hill towards the Dunlop hairpin once more. As we mentioned, it is very much now a front 6. I just wonder if any of these drivers are starting to think it might be breakout time. Let's see if we can't go faster on our own after a pit stop. We are halfway through the race, so it would be an ideal time for any of these drivers to make their way down pit lane. Arabian in the background in 7th, sort of pulling away from Renders it seems now, maybe just dropping the Spec 2 drivers you might expect for a pro driver, as Marnie ducks out and ducks back in again, just showing the nose to Aeronom, reminding him once again that he's still there and he's ready to fight with the erstwhile champion and the number 78.
Yeah, the undercut in this situation sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't work. We saw it last time out, Nom decided to come in early because everyone else was battling so much, but once they saw Nom come into the pits, they thought, alright, let's get in order here and let's stop fighting. And then they were sort of able to not lose any time. It really depends what the others do. You can come in for that early pit stop and then all of a sudden it's sort of out of your hands. If the others continue to fight over track position, you can come out on top. If they start working together, then you're going to be in traffic and probably wasting fuel because you're not in the train. So you don't really have any control over it, but I am sort of a little bit surprised no one came into the pits on that last time. And we're expecting the drivers to be able to go as far as about 28 minutes into the race, as that's Dobek getting underneath Lin. Lin carried a lot of speed on corner entry, through the corner and on corner exit, and that is how he's kept 5th position. These guys not losing too much time so far, but they need to be careful from that. The 42, I think, doing the wise thing there, just backing up, making sure that they do stay nice and congested around the middle part of the track. Arabian just not with the pace tonight. He's continuing to lose time. He did gain 3/10 on that last lap, but from the majority of what I've seen, it's mainly been sort of him losing half a second or so most of this race.
Yeah, he did have to recover from that first lap slowdown, obviously, and I think he's sort of been stationary relative to the leader ever since. He wants to see some battling ahead of him so he can get involved. It's not likely to happen, though. These guys are all very disciplined, it seems, in working together, keeping it on circuit until the critical pit stop phase, at which point we might see a little bit more battling thereafter. One thing I am looking forward to, actually, that we've not mentioned, is how these drivers actually enter the pits. With the tighter chicane, obviously it's pretty much a formality. You just move right and straight into the pit lane. On this faster layout, I do wonder if any of them are going to struggle to get it turned down in time to make that pit entry.
It would be a real power move if you know you're about to run out of fuel and you just block the pit entry for the driver on the outside. That would be lovely stuff. Love to see those tactics. But you're absolutely right. Yeah, you need to make sure that you do it on a lap where you're not battling someone. Otherwise, it's going to get very messy. And of course, it's easy to over push. Is Marnie going to go for this move? This would be very ambitious. But Norm realised that there was no point in fighting it. And it's Marnie into the lead. But Norm comes into the pits himself. And he is the first one to blink anyone following him in. Yes, there is. That's Dobek also into the pit lane, and now the others will know, okay, let's stop fighting here and let's work together. Let's see if Bertoni gets that memo.
Yeah, let's see how far down the order Nom and Dobek come out, and let's see how far there is much of a gap between the two of them. They've come on to the pits pretty much on top of each other. Oh, as Marnie goes very wide there. I think he lost the rear momentarily, and that's let Bertoni back into our lead. Our pole sitter takes over the lead again. Or do we move back to Haraski, 23rd position at the moment. Behind him, further battling. I think Coffey might have actually missed the chicane there. He got very close up the back of Jackson in 24. Camera just panned away. Couldn't quite see what went off between those two. But Haraski, 23rd at the moment. As we come past the pit lane, Herrero, Nom and Dobek out. I believe they are. Nom's out in 14th. And he's got McCain between himself and Dobek. Dobek's lost a good 3 seconds in that pit stop phase.
Really short pit stop for Nom there, 9.93, Dobek 11.4. We haven't got many other references, but Burkitt was 12 dead. Yeah, there's not really any other proper references. Maybe Jacobson 11.9. So I think it was just a quick pit stop for Nom more than anything else. As was that Vicari? Sorry, that vaguely coming out to the pits. Vicari, I think, just avoiding him in all that. But that was not a good mistake for Marnie. And Naselli's actually dropped back on this up now. So a second between those two. That is Coffey getting underneath Jackson. I think it was Coffey who nearly ran into the back of a driver at the back end of that previous lap. It lost him a bunch of time. Lost him about 4 seconds. Didn't seem that much initially, but a 2:20 is a long way off the pace, and that is why he is battling Jackson, but clear of him now. Dantas versus Green. We haven't seen these two drivers a whole lot, often fighting for the podium positions, particularly Green, one of the front runners in the championship. He is behind Dantas though at the moment, as we have Naselli the next into the pits. It'd been a poor lap for Naselli. Like I said, he dropped about a second behind the top two.
Yeah, I wonder if that shouldn't be fuel saving in any way, should it? All these drivers with plenty of fuel to go an extra few laps, so whether he made a little error somewhere on that lap and decided to make the best of a bad situation and move into the pits. Arabian's in the pit lane as well with him. See if Arabian can make up any time on the drivers in front as we wait now for them to make their exits. About 30 seconds to transfer through the pits. Aero Nom, our first driver in, comes down into turn 1 and he's ahead of Naselli, but not by much. His driver's still battling closely, I imagine, from here on out. Brewster in between them at the moment, but I imagine Naselli will quickly dispatch him and be right under Aero Nom within the lap.
So judging by that, I think if Bertoni pitted right now, he would literally be on top of Nom. I think they'd be side by side in turn 1. Because I think before that pit stop, so he was about 1.3 seconds off the lead, and now he's about 1.6 seconds off Nom. That's agonising for Naselli. You know, you think he would be in the draft of Nom if it weren't for that, and now he's getting a bit desperate. He knows he can't waste any time. Brewster's very generous there to give up that position, because that was extremely aggressive from Naselli.
Yeah, made a real dive, and I don't think Brewster was that happy with it actually, because he's using his exit to have a look into the hairpin. Can't break deep enough though, and Naselli clears it. Oh, as Dobek runs very wide around McCain. Dobek, another of our front lead running drivers, and he seems to be having trouble with McCain on his outside as we go through the Schumacher S. Naselli a good second, even 2 seconds behind Nom now. He'll not be happy to see that gap. He'll hope that some of the remaining drivers to pit actually come out in between him, and then they can all draft up together perhaps. As we look back at Alan McCain running in 15th, it was a legitimate battle with Dobek, but I don't think Dobek will be that happy to have been fought that hard by a driver who is yet to stop.
So Lin now into the pit, so I imagine he's going to be Dobek range, isn't he? Maybe even Naselli range. I mean, Naselli was held up on that lap, so actually he might be ahead of Naselli. This could be close for Lin. Was a good pit stop though for Naselli, 10.13 still. Nom with the fastest pit stop of anyone, 9.93, despite the fact that he was in clean air for most of that stint. He was leading on most of the time, so either he was fuel saving out from the lead, or he just knows down to the milliliter how much fuel he needs to put into the car. Where are these other drivers? Lin ahead of Nom, but they're currently alongside. There goes Nom. So wow, that's a pit stop. Wow, so super short pit stop for Lin. So 7.87, that's 2 seconds faster than Nom, and that's 4 seconds faster than Dobek for Lin. So that is really not a lot of fuel, and that's why he's so close to Aaron Nom.
Yeah, it's not the first time we've seen Wangxi take a very short pit stop. He seems to be a driver who can push it a lot more than certain of the other drivers, and it always stands him in good stead if he's there or thereabouts in the leading battle. Comes out right on the back of Aaron Nom. We saw them side by side through turn 1 and turn 2. Just a second to get his tyres up to temperature, but that's the lead battle now for the remaining 10 minutes. Renders yet to pit. Marnie and Bertoni, the other 2 drivers at the front, are on board with Bertoni now, kicking up some gravel into the face of Marnie, number 25. Let's see if these boys make it into the pits. I imagine they'll have to now. We've got 30 minutes down. They can't be running on northern fumes. Wait for the braking into the final chicane. Really quick from Bertoni there, really carried the speed, and Marnie ducks right, but Bertoni's going again. I'm amazed. I'm simply amazed. He's got to come round another minute and a half lap, 2-minute lap even. It's going to be really on fumes as Marnie gets it down to the pit lane speed limit. No limiters on these cars. They've got to do it by feel. They do have a little warning as to how fast they're going relative. Oh, as meanwhile Lin's up the inside of Nom. Excellent driving from Wangxi Lin to claim the effective lead on lap 15.
Yeah, I think as long as Marnie's pit stop is sub 9 seconds, which is a big if, but I think he should be ahead of these drivers. No, it's more than 9 seconds, 10. Oh, this is a long pit stop for Marnie. I think Marnie's messed it up. That's too much fuel for him. That's got to be too much fuel. 12.87. That's way too long. So that's 5 seconds longer than Lin. It was such a good stint for him, though. He's still in play. But why has Marnie taken that much fuel? That's got to be a miscalculation, because he was in the tow of Bertoni, he was in the tow of Nom earlier on as well. He pretty much never led in that first stint, did Marnie? And we saw him go so long. I can't imagine you'd need that much fuel to go 8.5 minutes to the end. So that's puzzling for Marnie, and it may have denied him a chance at the win.
Yeah, 5 seconds longer stationary time compared to Lin, and he's only 3 seconds behind him. So if you'd done a Yuangshi Lin pit stop special, he'd be out in the lead with time to spare. And looking good for the end of this race. We go back to Jason Green. We did check in with him a little bit earlier, battling with Dantas in front and Bobby West, recovering another driver who got to slow down on that opening lap. These guys battling for a top 10 position as we hit it through this banked left, and then ever falling away right-hander down to the Dunlop hairpin. 3 guys well used to being at the front or in the lead battles. Let's see if they battle further for the remaining race. We've got, is that Gibson, the number 893 as well, just off the back of these guys, trying to make it a 4-way fight. And through the hairpin and climbing back up the hill. All the opening section is downhill, and then got to climb back up through the Schumacher S until we get onto the back section where it dips down once more before rising again to the final chicane. And Green's going up the inside of Dantas here, claims the inside, claims the apex. Nice move, not fought too hard by Dantas on that occasion.
We now have Bertoni coming to his pit stall, and he is now stationary. So I think this needs to be even sub 10 seconds, and it should be the lead for Bertoni. He's had such good pace, 9, 10 on the dots. Well, this is going to be close, isn't it? Here comes Nom. He's got back ahead of Lin in all of that. Can Nom retake the lead? He's got much more speed, but he's going to have the outside line. No, Bertoni's got it done. Nom will be in the draft range, so he should be able to get close in the remaining stages. But Bertoni, really good pace for himself, and Naselli by staying out longer than the other drivers. And I think we've got a 4-way battle for the race to win. Marnie too far away with that long pit stop. I think the other 4 all in play as long as Lin has enough fuel to get to the end.
Yep, those 4 drivers clearly in a snake together. Marnie just off the back, we caught him momentarily in those last 2 camera shots. He's got Dobek for company, so he won't be lonely as they race out the final 5 minutes of this one. Fortunately, he'd much rather be keeping company with the front 4. Just 2 seconds off that if they fight. If they fight for the rest of this, I imagine he'll get there. But at the moment, he's looking for a best finish of 5th. Oh, meanwhile, Andrew Love goes round the outside of the number 40. That's Jacobson. These guys back in 18th, 19th. Fighting inside the top 20. Somewhere ahead of them, Alan McCain has recovered up to 15th at the moment and is chasing down Gaston. As we look back at Dantas, who appears to be running a little bit slowly on the right there. Sam?
I don't know what's going on with that one. He's got a lot of fuel in the car, this Dantas, so he doesn't need to save any, but maybe there was some previous contacts that we haven't seen, which he feels a bit of remorse for. So letting them go across track position, just so not too important even around this circuit. I wonder with the how far the drivers were going, as I think that is Green being overtaken by West. West has made his pit stop, and so that is a legitimate 10th place. Everyone now with their pit stops. On the previous lap, I think that those were the last pit stops to be made. But I think this is quite a low fuel consumption circuit because there's no slow speed corners. You've got that first hairpin where you waste a lot of energy, but everywhere else you're sort of just coaxing it into the corner, not wasting a whole lot of fuel. I think that's why the drivers have been able to go as far as they can, because you're not wasting too much fuel around this circuit. Love and Brewster, this is for P2 in the Masters category, and Love is way off into the grass. He loses a lot of time, couldn't get any traction, and he's going to lose out to Jacobson because of that.
I think he did almost the entire straight on the grass there, didn't he? He went in way too hot out onto the gravel and then seemed to have lost his bearings a little bit. Couldn't find the compass pointing north and couldn't get back to the track. He didn't manage it eventually, but lost out another position. We're back at the front though now. Bertoni, pole sitter, leading the way. It's not been that easy as it might appear though. been spending most of his time in second, the third of this one. A good pit stop has brought him back to the front, and Aero Nom is going to challenge him for the remaining 4 minutes. Not what you want here. You'd rather Aero Nom had crashed out at this point than have to fight him for the rest of this one, because he is not going to let you live for 1 second. He wants that victory as much as anyone. As calm and as placid as he may seem in the commentary box afterwards when we interview him, he absolutely wants to win every single race, I can guarantee you that. And he's showing Bertoni his nose at every opportunity. Lynn has just set his fastest lap in third, and Naselli there for the ride as well.
Yeah, there's been a great, not just the previous lap, but this lap as well for Lynn. He's got himself into play, but Lynn's the one who's got to start making moves. And he was saying back at Phillip Island, which he managed to win, he was saying how he can get a bit impatient come these closing stages. He's not one for the tactical racing, which we sort of associate with Aero Nom, for example. Lynn sometimes gets a little bit rushed and goes for the overtake. It worked for him well at Phillip Island, and I think he's got to go for it if he's going to win today, because he wants to be P2 at least, going on to that long back straight on the final lap. Dobek now ahead of Marnie. This race has got so far away from Marnie. He could have so been at the front there. He had such good pace, but that long pit stop has really destabilised him as he moves back alongside. But we are going to go to the last lap for the race lead, with Bertoni still leading on.
Yeah, Dobek and Marnie have clearly decided they're not going to work together to try and catch these front 4 anymore. Always Lynn's round the outside of Nom into turn 1. Both of them deep on the brakes. Nom picks up a good apex though, and shows the white line to Lynn. Into 2. Lynn's still interested though. He was still taking the tight line as if he wanted to try and make a move. Obviously, you can keep harassing a driver and harassing a driver, and maybe they'll make a mistake. That might be what Lynn was after there as we go through 3, and then the flick right out of the Mercedes Arena section of 4. I've got a back marker just to negotiate. Oh, we're moving left and right, trying to make it around. Number 420 is that. And through the chicane, they've all cleared him nicely, thankfully. No further interruptions, we hope, from any other drivers. It's not really a circuit for the back markers, is it? Especially when we've only got 34 drivers out there.
Yeah, it's just about long enough, seemingly, to get to the end. One of the longest laps that we'll visit this season. Nom down to 3.5 tenths of a second. It wasn't a good first half of the lap, but it's had a couple of good corners, good Dunlop there. And now we're going to the Schumacher S, and this is where, if you've been nice on the incident so far in this race, you can use one up, and that could really get you a couple of tenths of a second. And Nom again seemed to gain a bit of time. Will then go for the big dive. He's tempted to go for it. He has to pick a little bit early to get out of it. And I don't think Lynn's going to be able to win the race from this point, because I think you need to be in P2 from this position. It's surely going to be down to Bertoni and Nom, with Lynn just trying to get second place if he can. But it wasn't a good couple of corners for Nom, and he's got a lot to do if he's going to win this race.
Yeah, Lynn round the outside, we've got 3 corners to go. Bertoni's defending the inside. Any draft is not going to get through to him up the inside. Oh, as they bash panels behind, and Lynn has to back out of it. Nom steals back off second. Bertoni, I think he's got a good enough run through there, although he runs wide, has to defend from Nom. Nom decides to go for it and overshoots it massively. That's opened the door for Lynn and Naselli. Lynn and Naselli up the inside. Bertoni's got this one won. We've got 3 wide for second though. Who is it in a photo? Finishes that Naselli. Nom appears to have snatched it. Nom in second, Lynn third, and Naselli in fourth. What a finish for the podium.
That was 3/100ths of a second between the 3 of them. That was mega. And Nom getting away with that error. In the end, there was no change between the 3 of them. But it came very close to a total flip between the lots. And Nom had to go for the move, but Bertoni drove that final lap to perfection. Green finishing in 12th place. We'll get a replay of this one from the chopper view. And yeah, Lynn, wasn't a great chicane for Lynn. He was a little bit tight, and a bit tight on the exit as well. He saw this opportunity. Brake a little bit late himself, actually, did Lynn, and was a bit hesitant on the throttle. And it was from behind Naselli with the fantastic run, but just at the checkered flag, which comes up fairly early down the straight. And thank goodness there for Nom that it did. He holds on to P2, but great drive there from Bertoni. He well and truly deserved that.
What an insane finish between those 3. I can't believe they finished across the line that close. I thought Nom had thrown it all away. He was in 4th as they came out of the exit, but managed to carry a little bit more speed. We're just waiting now on the last few drivers still on the lead lap. to complete their lap. We've got Burkitt home in 23rd. Gibson comes across the line now in 24th. I think we're just waiting on Tom Lorry, is it? Tom Lorry's going to finish 25th overall. Our Spec 2 driver. Charlie Vaccaro behind him in the 921. And Richard Coffey in the 300, currently down in 27th. I think we've then just got maybe Jackson behind. Bob Kern in 29th has finished his lap, one lap race down. Yep, there's Paul Jackson over the other end of the circuit, it seems. So whether he's had a mistake on the last lap, but a long time waiting for our driver in 28th to come home. Just should mention as well, winners in the other two specs. Our Spec 2 winner, Tom Renders, comes home in 8th place overall, just ahead of Chris Murakami, who seems to have had a little bit of a dull night in the Masters. Qualified on pole. I think he's led every lap in that category and comes home 9th overall. I should hope he's maybe had a little bit of fun battling drivers in the pro category though. As Jackson with just one final corner to negotiate. Don't worry, Paul, we're all not watching you. We've got other things to do. No pressure as he comes across the line and finishes 28th. The final driver on the lead lap there for GITS Sport. And with that, should bring up our final results. There they are on screen for you now. Andreas Bertoni takes the victory in the end, a full 5/10. We're just dropping, yep, there we go, reloading it with the full results there. I think we just had the Spec 1 to begin with. Andreas Bertoni, either way, takes your victory, half second ahead of Aero Nom, who manages somehow to recover after a final corner blunder to come home second, with Wangchi Lin and Maurizio Naselli separated by all of 300ths of a second. Jörg Marni got disassociated with the front battle, comes home 5th, manages to see off Michael Dobek in 6th. Renz Arabian, that was somewhat of a lonely race for him, I think, from about the 10-minute mark. Come home in 7th place ahead of Tom Renders, our Spec 2 winner, and Chris Murakami in 9th. Bobby West rounds up the top 10, making a good recovery drive for the West Tech Esports Racing. Lando Dantas, Jason Green, Jesus Rodriguez and Jonathan Gaston are remaining pro drivers in the top 14 there. Al McCain up to 15th place as far as he could recover, having dropped to 24th. Aaron Vogel in 16th and Jim Brewster 17th, second of our Masters drivers. Andrew Love in 18th, battling with Jim all the way to the end there, ahead of Jeff Jacobson. Flavio Endalo in 20th ahead of Johan Betenga. Miro Hraski makes it into 22nd place with Ian Gibson, 23rd from Tom Lorry, Charlie Vaccaro, Marcus Burkitt, Richard Coffey, and we saw across the line the last of our lead lap drivers, Paul Jackson. Bob Kern finishes 29th with Desmond Floyd in 30th, Daniel Engel, Mark Sherman, Matthias Feiger and Adam Bradshaw, I believe the last of the drivers to actually take the start. The remaining drivers not making it to the grid, unfortunately. So we come to the interview section of our broadcast. Sam, have you got anyone for yourself?
I think we haven't got Bertoni at the moment, but we do have our Spec 2 race winner, Svender's, joining us in the commentary box right now. Congratulations, Thomas, out there on the P1 in the Spec 2 category. It seems very comfortable for you. You must be delighted with how quick you were tonight.
Yeah, I really like this track. I don't know, with whatever car I come here, I'm pretty quick here. It's one of my better tracks. So, but yeah, to be able to follow the lead group for a while and actually only making minor mistakes, but that costed me the connection with the lead group. But yeah, it was a very great race, and I really loved it.
You were racing with Firenze, I think, for most of the race. What was the gap by the end of that? You probably saw on your F3 screen, maybe it was very close at the front, but did that gap just open up a little bit to Firenze near the end?
Yeah, it especially when we were pitting, I think I lost a bit. I think it took a little much to fuel, about 2 laps too much, I think. But yeah, I was really playing it safe. I mean, the championship points are very important to take every race. So yeah, I'm mainly focusing on that at the moment. So, and trying to get top 10s every now and then with it.
Absolutely. Next up, we go to Okayama, which is one of my favorite circuits. I always say, pretty much whichever car we go in, it's such a good circuit for this car, and it's a very good circuit, I think, for this car as well. Is that one that you enjoy?
Yeah, I just love it. Every time I come there with this car or with the Formula V, it's always close racing and great overtaking opportunities as well. I mean, on the back straight and T1, but also when you make a little mistake, yeah, there's always good close racing over there. So yeah, I really enjoy going there.
Well, best of luck for it, Thomas. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, just all the guys who are involved in organizing and driving and broadcasting. It's a great community to be part of.
Absolutely agree, Thomas. Thanks for joining us in the comments box, and yeah, see you back next time.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
Thomas Renders, your Spec 2 winner there. Adam, who have we got next?
I think I'm going to draw in Wang Shilin into the pits. Into the interview room. Although I think he's actually got his mic switched off at the moment. Wang Shi, if you're there, can you hear us?
Yes.
Welcome into the box, Wang Shi. Fantastic finish between the three of you there, all fighting for second place. You must have had a podium in your sights there, or a higher step on the podium even.
That is true, but I wish that it could be a fight for the win in the end.
Yeah, for the entire race, you were just off the back of the front three, weren't you? And then after the pit stop phase, you were with a fantastically short time in the pits. You managed to draw back into the front group, and was challenging from there. How did you manage to fuel so little compared to the other drivers?
It is let's say it's a gamble on 18 laps. The race being 18 laps, it was very close to being a little bit over. But in the end, I'm glad that it's only 18 laps. The track temperature is very hot today compared to official race where the race is in the morning and the track time is really cold. So lap time today was a lot slower than usual.
Are you saying then that you wouldn't have made it to the end if we had gone to that 19th lap?
That's true. I just have little bit left for Demolition Derby, that's all.
Just enough to make it to turn one and join everyone in that end of race tradition. Now, obviously, next week we're off to Okayama. How are you looking forward to that one?
I don't know. Okayama is not one of my strongest track, let's say. And, I'll still race it and see how it's gonna go. So that's the plan.
Thank you very much, Wangji. If you want to take this opportunity to just give a shout out to anyone before we say bye to you.
I mean, obviously, thank you guys for broadcasting, and thanks for Mr. Stevie Ray organizing the league, and I think he's not here today. Yeah, it was an interesting race, although it's a bit boring. I think it's more because how the track was designed. It's really hard to pull a overtake.
Thank you very much, Wangji. And Sam, have we got time for maybe one more driver?
We will have a super quick interview with Chris Murakami, who joins us in the commentary box now. Congratulations, Chris. Another week, another race win. First question, 1 instant point for the whole race. How on earth did you manage that?
Which instant?
You got 1 instant point for the entire race, which I think was pretty much the lowest of anyone.
I can't figure it out. I did so many laps on this track. It was ridiculous. I probably did more laps on this track, but all week I was terrible. And with the help of Florence, Antonio, and George, I was able to get a little bit more speed up. So, and make that chicane, that last chicane was the killer. I mean, I averaged 9, 10 during the races, incidences, and this one I just hit 1. Yeah, so I took it a little bit later than normal, and that's what saved me in that area.
Yeah, it seemed to work really well. Today's race just seemed to be really good for everyone. This track, you know, perfect width it seems. The long radius corners seem to work well. I mean, it just seems to almost be built for these cars.
Well, I look at the grid, and then I look at how they finished, and I was seeing in front of me, and nobody was. I like to see a lot of passing, and so the guys that I were talking to, they didn't really like it because it was too difficult to pass, and I agree with that. I like a little bit more excitement, and a little bit more. I like actually I like to see a little more incidences. It's just me.
That's definitely fair enough. We want the entertainment as well, absolutely. Chris, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Well, the three guys, and then everyone involved with this, and my girlfriend for not being there, so I have a lot of time. But yeah, and the sponsor, and yeah, the whole thing is great.
Great. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Chris, and best of luck at Okayama.
Yeah, and thank you guys.
Chris Murakami there, your Masters race winner for this round of the championship, Adam.
Yep, thanks to all our drivers for joining us for a quick interview at the end of the race there. Always nice to hear from everyone. As we come now to the end of our broadcast, should just take the time to once again thank RaceView for sponsoring this series. Week in, week out, they do a great job for us. And if you at home have enjoyed this broadcast, obviously take the time to like this video or subscribe to the channel Apex Racing TV. You can also find us on all the social media channels, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Just search Apex Racing TV. So that's the end of round 8. Another fabulous round. We're looking forward to round 9 next week. Obviously, we've already mentioned it should be a great track to for all these drivers are very familiar one. What are you looking forward to about that?
Yeah, I mean, I just absolutely love Okayama. Will be, I think, enough overtaking around that circuit. Will be one of the tricky to overtake circuits on the calendar. Lots of hairpins for that track. I imagine fuel consumption will be quite high, and yeah, just a circuit that everyone knows. So it should be really competitive at the front of the field, I imagine.
Yeah, but before we get there, have you got a few more broadcasts for us coming up for the rest of the week on our channel?
Yes, well, I think we've got the we've got the Formula 3 final race of the season actually in the Formula 3. That's next Saturday. That's the one that I'm looking forward to most of all. And also, just a little bit of a reminder as well that we have sign-ups open for the Apex Racing League Prototype Championship and also the Apex Racing League Master Cup Championship as well. You can check out sign-up details on Apex Racing League along with the schedule and all sorts. Do make sure to check out those championships because they'll be on Apex Racing TV very soon as well.
I think I should also mention the ARL Mazda Cup. It should be making its comeback. Another of my series that I commentate on a Monday night. I think sign-ups are open for there as well if you go searching for it. So we're at the end of our broadcast. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Thank you to Mark on cameras and Sam for joining me on the mic. Wherever you are in the world, whether it's good morning, good afternoon or good evening, good night from us.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.